My wife's boss, an alpha male, had the audacity to proposition her, igniting a fire of anger within me. I couldn't stand the disrespect shown to our marriage, arriving home just 15 minutes ago. I was surprised to find Isabella missing. She often worked late, but she'd usually be home before me, ready with dinner as I was about to call her. My phone rang. "Hello, dear. Are you still at work?" I inquired. "Yes, but I'm on my way now. Now I have a surprise for you," she replied. "Should I prepare dinner or order something?" I pondered. "There'll be no time for that." "Tonight," she informed me. 20 minutes later, Isabella entered, appearing disheveled. Her clothes were wrinkled, stockings missing, makeup smudged, and hair in disarray. "Tough day," I remarked, taking note of her state. She hugged me tightly, whispering, "You know I love you deeply, and that you do anything for me, right?" I nodded, prepared to fulfill her wishes. She began to explain that she had been discussing our relationship dynamics with her boss, who had introduced some intriguing ideas that sparked her fantasies, while I allowed her autonomy in many decisions. Major ones like home purchases, car choices, and financial planning were mutual endeavors. My willingness to prioritize her happiness did not equate to submission. It was simply an expression of my love. "You know how you generally let me decide on most things? And you're so loving and kind, allowing me almost anything I want." She continued lately. "I've been having discussions about our relationship with my boss, Ben. He floated a few ideas that intrigued me, particularly stories about submissive men being dominated by their partners and how it could enhance their relationship. I have to admit, Peter, these tales sparked my imagination and stirred something within me." Isabella explained, "Yes, Isabella, I do. Grant you autonomy in decisions that aren't pivotal, but in significant matters. Like choosing a home, cars, and investments, I take the lead. However, I do enjoy letting you decide on things that bring you joy, like vacatio, in-nest movies, restaurants, and even my wardrobe. It's not about submission, it's about expressing my love and ensuring your happiness." I replied, reflecting on my approach to our marriage. "My dad once told me that the key to a content stress-free marriage is not sweating. The small stuff, he believed almost everything falls into that category, and that life should be embraced with positivity and joy." I added, "Okay, Peter, but I think my boss might have a point. He's assertive, powerful, and commands respect with his strong personality. He sees himself as an alpha male, dominant, and at the top of the social hierarchy, whereas people like you, though loving and kind, are more inclined to be submissive." Isabella remarked, her turn, shifting with newfound confidence. I frowned, disagreeing with her boss's assessment. "That sounds like superficial pop psychology to me, and I don't buy into it. What exactly are you trying to say?" I inquired. Sensing a shift in her demeanor, my boss has expressed his intention to be dominant with me in a way I've never experienced before. He's been boasting about his size and prowess, and he's been demonstrating it in his office for weeks. I know it's wrong. I may have crossed a line as a married woman, but it's been exhilarating." Isabella confessed, her words humming heavily in the air. Isabella confessed, "For the past few weeks, I've been fantasizing about him seducing me at work." She shared he believes you might actually like the idea of me being close to him, suggesting that your submissive side might even enjoy watching, and if not, he said, that you and I would have the most incredible sex of our lives. When I returned to you after being with him, I looked at her expecting this to be some sort of joke, but then it dawned on me that she was serious. "Isabella, you can't be serious. How could you think I'd be okay with this?" I asked incredulously. "Peter, I know you love me and want me to be happy. I truly believe this will elevate our love and our sex life to a whole new level." She insisted, "Isabella, are you telling me you've been intimate with your boss? Why on earth would you do that?" I demanded, struggling to comprehend her actions. "Oh no, Peter. I would never cheat on you," she exclaimed in disbelief. "But you've already crossed a line. You've had intimate conversations with Ben, and you've told me about touching his boyfriend, did he?" I trailed off, seeking confirmation. She averted her gaze, unable to meet my eyes, and quietly said, "No, Peter. Not yet. He's waiting in the driveway. We're to talk, and then he'll come up to our bedroom. We're going to be together, and you can watch if you want, then if you'd like. You can come and get me afterward, and I'll be all yours. Ready for anything you've ever dreamed of." "Are you kidding me? The thought of being with you after you've been with him is revolting," I retorted, disgusted. "And what now, Isabella? Because I'm saying no, and demanding that he leave immediately." Isabella's expression turned to one of panic. It was clear she had anticipated this response, and now it seemed that she was going to take a more assertive stance. "Isabella, you seem to have been influenced by your boss," I said, struggling to grasp the situation. "You love me, and I want this. You've always let me have my way, and I've decided this will be good for us. Let's try it just once, though. I'm sure it will be so amazing. We want to continue now. I'll go upstairs to get ready for him. And for you, you can let him in. Then wait until we're done. I know you'll want this because you love me, and I believe it will be great for us. Isabella, I see where you stand and what this means for our marriage and vows. So go ahead and get ready, and I'll have a quick talk with your visitor." I replied. My voice quivered with emotion. "He's not my lover, Peter. This is just about intense, dominant encounters. I will always love only you, and will be yours forever, and you'll be mine." As Sabella insisted, moving to hug and kiss me, but I pushed her away, surprise and pain. F in my eyes. "Well, don't wait on my account, Isabella. It's clear you're C. T on doing this, regardless of what I say. If not now, then eventually, perhaps even without telling me. But you've already betrayed me. So go upstairs and get ready." I said, the weight of her betrayal heavy in my voice. Her expression shifted to guilt and shock at my words, but she turned to leave halfway up the stairs. She looked back, asserting, "This is going to be a game." "Yes, Isabella, it certainly will be a game share." "You've made your choice," I replied, feeling a mix of anger and resignation. After she walked upstairs, I went to her purse and took out her car keys, house keys, and phone from her wallet. I removed our joint credit card. Then, I headed to the kitchen, pulled out a dish towel, some zip ties from a utility drawer, and a large carving knife with these in hand. I went outside to confront Ben. He was in his car, engrossed in his phone. As I approached, he rolled down the window and said smugly, "Okay, little Peter, I assume your wife filled you in? Don't worry, I'll still let her be with you, at least for now, until she's totally under my control. You to enjoy this." Ben started, but I didn't let him finish. I launched into the most forceful left hook I could muster, striking him squarely in the nose. The sound of a crunch confirmed I inflicted damage, handing him a kitchen towel. I said, "Here, you might need this." Ben, as he brought it to his nose. I quickly looped a zip tie around his left wrist, secured it to the headrest bar, and tightened it. Next, I opened the car door and delivered another left hook, this time targeting his lower body. Right where he boasted his manhood was he doubled over in pain, curling up as much as the zip tie on his wrist allowed. His right hand clutched the steering wheel while he screamed in agony. Seizing the moment, I swiftly zip-tied his right hand to the steering wheel. Leaning close to his face, I taunted. "So the big, strong, dominant alpha male is having trouble now. Huh, what a pathetic situation you've got yourself into. You've misjudged this scenario horribly, and you're about to learn from your mistakes. Unfortunately for you, Isabella is expecting something epic, so let's not disappoint her." I picked up a water hose lying on the grass, equipped with a steady steel nozzle with a swing. I shattered the car's side window, sending fragments scattering across the seat and floor. Then I moved to the front, striking the windshield while it didn't break. I managed to fill it with cracks and dents, as if it had been pelted with golf ball-sized debris. I also smashed the headlights, finding a grim satisfaction in the ACT returning to the driver's side. I chuckled. Looks like your car could use some work. Then, pulling a knife from my back pocket, I quickly leaned towards the car and pressed the blade against the jugular vein in his neck. In my most menacing tone, I hissed, "How many, many times have you been with my wife? Did you try to convince her that I would accept this fear?" Flashed in his eyes, as he stuttered only twice. These last few weeks, it meant nothing. It was just sex, please. It meant, "Let me go, and I promise you'll never see me again." I regarded him with contempt, seeing him as nothing more than despicable. "I'm not going to end you right now, but make no mistake. If I get wind of any trouble from the police, or any repercussions from our little chat today, I will come after you if you involve the police. I might end up in jail, maybe get out on bail, or even serve time, but regardless, there will come a day when I will find you, maybe in a parking lot, maybe in an elevator at work. And when that day comes, I will finish where I started. It's your choice. This could be the last time you ever see me, or you can spend the next week, month, or year looking over your shoulder, waiting for the moment I decide to end you with these words." I leaned over him, stuck the knife into the passenger seat, and said, "Isabella will need this to free you, so you can either drive her away, or maybe she'll take you to the emergency room. Doesn't matter, just make sure you get her out of my sight." I walked into the house, and as soon as Isabella heard the front door close, she called from the bedroom, "Is that you, Ben? Come up here. Have you sorted things out with Peter?" I was taken aback by her navy. "Isabella, Ben's in the car. He wants you to come out and talk." "I think he's reconsidering," I replied. A minute later, Isabella came down, wearing the underwear. IID bought her in a hastily donned robe. "What happened?" "Peter, did you reassure him everything's okay?" she asked. I made it clear. His future depends on his actions. "You should probably go out and talk to him," I responded. She looked at me, puzzled, and said, "Peter, please remember that I love you, and this is going to strengthen us." "Of course, Isabella," I replied, masking my true feelings, feeling a newfound sense of resolve. I locked the front door immediately after Isabella walked out. I made my way upstairs, hearing Isabella screaming, "What have you done? Peter, come here." I ignored her, "Please," and went into our bedroom, pulling out a suitcase. Quickly, I gathered a handful of Isabella's underwear, BRZ, and socks from her drawers. Then I grabbed some t-shirts, jeans, and sweaters from her closet, packing them into the suitcase in the bathroom. I hastily threw as much of her makeup and personal items as I could fit into the suitcase. Returning to the closet, I grabbed a pair of her tennis shoes, walking to the guest bedroom at the front of the house. I opened the window and shouted, "Ed, Isabella, you might need this." As I dumped the SIPC case onto the driveway, some perfume bottles might have broken, but that was no longer my concern. Then I threw her tennis shoes, aiming for her, but she managed to dodge them. She looked up at me with tears in her eyes and cried, "Peter, please, what are you doing?" I replied, "I was sure this was what you wanted." "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you angry or hurt you. I can't believe how harsh and brutal you were to Ben. He's my boss, for goodness sake. Please, Peter, let me in so we can talk about how to get through this," Isabella pleaded, her voice laced. With disbelief, "Isabella, I can't even begin to express how absurd you've sounded since you got home with this scheme to turn me into a cuckold." I responded I couldn't help but wonder if you'd had a stroke or if you were on drugs, or perhaps I never realized just how petty and pathetic I see you truly are. Regardless, doesn't matter. Now, I want you to leave. Take your lover to the hospital, but ask him what will happen if any word of today's events gets back to me from the police or anyone else. I said firmly, "I'll pack the rest of your things in bags, and you can tell me where to drop them off. But don't you dare come back to this house again with that." I slammed the window shut, went downstairs, opened the front door, and threw her purse her. It hit her in the chest before I slammed the door closed. I couldn't resist adding, "Is this enough for you?" Isabella, as a final remark. I locked the door behind me and headed to the kitchen to open my second beer of the day. It dawned on me that I needed to contact my lawyer immediately in case the police were involved, and also to seek a recommendation for a good divorce attorney. Glancing out the front window, I saw Ben yelling and cursing at Babella as she cut the zip ties. She then placed her suitcase in the trunk. Ben got into the back seat lying down, and Isabella, sobbing and looking utterly shocked, got into the car and reversed out of the driveway. As the adrenaline in my system began to subside, I started to relax. I was utterly astonished by the day's events. How could my wife derail so drastically? And how had I reacted in anger towards her boss? I was alarmingly close to causing him serious harm. And now I realized he just wasn't worth it. I couldn't help but laugh at the nonsense he had fed Isabella about being an alpha and me being a better. It was all out of love and a desire for a happy lifelong marriage. But Isabella completely misunderstood my kindness, as if I were a submissive, better personality who would let her fool me with someone like Ben. I never saw this coming in the following days. Isabella stayed away from the house. I kept receiving calls from unknown cell phones, which I assumed were from Isabella, since I had taken her phone pleading for me to call her back on a specific number to talk things through. I knew a confrontation was inevitable since the police hadn't shown up. I felt relieved, thinking I had narrowly escaped trouble. Now it was time to close this painful chapter. I called Isabella and told her to return in an hour for a talk after hanging up. I finished packing everything in the house that belonged to her and wait on the porch. Isabella eventually drove up in her car, which she must have retrieved from work. I wasn't sure if she was staying with Ben, her parents' friends, or at a motel. Surprisingly, I found myself not too interested in where she had been. She got out of the car, waved at me hesitantly, and then came to sit next to me on the porch steps. Her face was a canvas of emotions, including fear, shame, guilt, and apprehension. Her swollen, bloody appearance suggested she had been crying a lot and sleeping very little. She looked at me sheepishly. "I'm so sorry for what I did. I don't know how that Ben convinced me to ask you to be part of that, thinking you were submissive and would be into it," Isabella said. As I reflect on the past few weeks, I can't comprehend how I got caught up in all this. Maybe it was his assertiveness and his insistence that it would be great for us, that I would have the best sex of my life with him. And then with you must think I'm insane, and I probably was. But Peter, now I've come to my senses. I love you and I want only you. I'm asking for your forgiveness, and I promise to be the best wife, dedicated to making amends for my actions. Isabella, how was Ben in bed? I asked abruptly. "Stop, Peter, please," she pleaded after that conversation. I never went further with him. He's so scared of what you might do that he fired me and doesn't want anything to do with me. Besides, he spent 2 nights in the hospital because of what you did to him. He concocted a story about a robbery, and we both went along with it to keep you out of trouble, Isabella explained. At least he did something right in this mess. But what do he want, Isabella? What are you asking of me? I questioned Peter. I want to come back home and be your wife for the rest of our lives. I'm asking for your forgiveness. I'll do everything I can to make it up to you. We can get past this and be stronger than ever. I've realized you're the only one I can ever love, and I need you to forgive me. Can I please come home? She implored. I pondered for a moment. Isabella, I thought a lot about this. We've been in love for 2 years and married for free now. After just 5 years together, you're obviously either bored with our life or at least our sex life, and you're seeking something more. You might think you love me, and maybe you do, but I'm certain you don't respect me. You wouldn't have thought of me as a submissive, better male, Will. To let you sleep with your boss and then come back to me if you really understood love or respect the science. Isabella, you've already been unfaithful. Ben said you were intimate with him several times over the past few weeks, while he fed you this alpha-beta male nonsense. Your desire overshadowed the vows and promises you make to me. And this is only 5 years. In what will happen in 10, 15, or 20 years? How often will you get bored and break those vows? Peter, I promise I'll never do something like this again, Isabella pleaded. You've already done it, Peter. So don't say never. No, Isabella. I thought about this a lot. We're going to have kids. Our savings are minimal, and our only real asset is the house, which doesn't have much equity. I've decided, Isabella, that the risk of staying with you far outweighs any benefit. I'm convinced that it's only a matter of time before you justify your affair to yourself. And given your recent experience with Ben, next time you might just go behind my back. I don't trust you anymore. And what's worse, I've lost respect for you. I can't be with someone who doesn't respect me and whom I no longer respect. Isabella started crying as I laid out my decision, and her tears continued as I told her we were done. Isabella, we're getting a divorce. You can keep your car, I'll keep mine, we'll split the savings and sell the house. We're both still young, and I hope to stare in you with someone who will love and respect me for who I am. I've already hired a lawyer for the divorce, so we can do this amicably, or you can hire your own lawyer. Now let's loo the car with your belongings, and you can go and be with as many alpha males as you like. I'll start moving out next week, so we can get the house on the market. I told Isabella firmly. No, Peter, no. Please, forgive me. I need you. I love you. I truly respect you. It was just a mistake, one I was dragged into. You have to forgive me. Isabella implored. Isabella, I'm sorry, but I've said everything now. It's time for both of us to move on. With our lives, if our paths cross in the future, let's just nod in acknowledgement and continue on our way. I hope you find what you're looking for. I responded with that. I began loading her things into the car. Once we finished, I simply looked at her, said goodbye, walked into the house, and closed the door. Symbolically ending our marriage final update after my divorce, I decided to take some time for myself and do some traveling alone. I had always wanted to go on a cross-country road trip across the U.S. and experience some of the freedom I felt I had lost in my marriage. A few weeks into my trip, while driving through a remote area of the Southwest, my car started making strange noises and sputtering. I pulled over at the first exit I saw that had a gas station and auto shop. The mechanic told me the engine was shot. I would need a full rebuild, stuck in this tiny town in the middle of nowhere. I started to feel sorry for myself. But then I met a woman named Emmy who ran the local diner. She was unlike anyone I had ever known, strong, independent, and adventurous. She convinced me to stay in town for a while and took me hiking and rock climbing in the beautiful surrounding wilderness. Over the next couple weeks, Amy and I grew very close. She made me start feeling alive again after the pain of my divorce. One night, we were camping under the stars when we started passionately kissing by the fire. It was clear we both wanted more. As things started heating up, I pulled away and confessed I was not ready for anything too serious after getting out of a marriage. Emmy smiled and said she understood, but that we should enjoy the moment we ended up making love there under the stars. It was incredible, but afterward I was worried I had made a mistake. When I hesitantly brought this up, Emmy laughed and said, not to overthink it. She told me to loosen up and live in the present. Her carefree attitude was so different than what I was used to being with Amy, made me realize I needed to let go of my inhibitions and not be afraid to embrace new experiences over the next month. We continued our passionate fling while my car was repaired. By the time I was ready to hit the road again, I didn't want to leave, but Emmy encouraged me to continue my trip. She taught me to appreciate the unexpected surprise and turns life brings our way. I left a changed man, grateful for our time together, and the lesson in freedom and adventure I never expected to find on a remote highway in the music desert.